Hi, everybody. This is Kurt Gowdy with Ned Martin and Tony Kubek. And some light spate years from now, when they open the time capsule, the Discoverer is probably going to encounter in the first item a recap of Game 6 of the 1975 World Series.
Well, Tom, I don't know about space travelers from distant galaxies, but here on Earth, Kurt Gowdy had it exactly right. 36 years down the road, we've judged it the top game of the last 50 years.
Oh, what a great game. But, Bob, before we get there, let's take a look at greatest games number 20 through 2, which in their own way also deserve space in that time capsule.
And now the Phillies lead in this ball game by a score of 23 to 22.
Here comes Snow. Here's the throw home. It is in time, and Snow is out at the plate.
Maddox going. It's over. The Phillies win it. 8-7.
Ortiz into deep right field. Back is Sheffield. We'll see you later tonight.
1-1 pitch.
Ground ball right side. Got to sneak through. Here comes Gomez around third. The throw to the plate by Thomas. Not in time. Twins head to New York. They win the American League Central.
And the 0-1 pitch on the way to Edgar Martinez. Swung on the line down the left field line for a base hit. Here comes Joy. Here is Junior to third base. They're going to wave him in. The throw to the plate will be late. The Mariners are going to play for the American League Championship. I don't believe it.
Now the 2-2. Well hit down the left field line. Way back and
Touch a ball, Joe. You'll never hit a bigger home run in your life.
a liner off Nagy's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series.
See ya! See ya! See ya! He is Mr. November.
3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead 3-2.
In a year that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened.
Floater, center field. The Diamondbacks are world champions.
To left field and deep and down he goes back and it's gone. Unbelievable. You're looking at one for the ages here.
Reaching into the stands and couldn't get it. He's lit it with a fan. As Byrne hits it to deep left, that might send the Yankees to the World Series.
Struck him out. And the New York Mets have won the 1986 National League pennant. Green to the plate. And he is saved at the plate.
Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight and the Mets win it.
The Twins are going to win the World Series. The Twins have won it. It's a base hit. It's a 1-0 10-inning victory.
A cavalcade of thrills, 20 through 2. Now we reach the top of the list. Fred Lynn and Johnny Bench are here.
And I think what he did for baseball was even more important than that.
Best game I ever played in. Nice to see that MLB agrees with me.
Best game of the last 50 years. Here it comes.
And there's a high fly ball deep to right field. Going back with me, forget it. It's gone. This place is rocking. And he strikes out. Here's the payoff. Struck him out. There he goes. Straight away center field. Lynn is going back. That ball is off the wall. One run is in. Here comes Morgan. He'll score. Deep center field. Way back. We're tied up. Well, the fans have come alive again. They are alive. They're tagging up at third. Here comes the throw. It is in time. Well hit right field deep. Evans is going back near the wall, and oh, what a catch he made. There it goes, the long drive. If it stays fair.
Well, Tom, throughout this countdown, people have been asking us which game is number one, and they had their own suggestions or guesses. The one we heard most frequently was this one. No surprise.
No surprise and no doubter greatest game for me, for a lot of people. And I think of it as a clash of the Titans. There's no Cinderellas here. Both teams led their leagues in scoring. Both teams swept through the league championship series. And guys, this was before interleague play, so there was this air of mystery about what happens when the American League champions match up with the National League champions.
I was a rookie. I'd seen these guys play when I was a kid on TV, but I'd never played them in person. You like that, John?
I did like that, but I mean, here was this young guy who had probably one of the greatest, most phenomenal rookie years, former football player at USC, and now comes out and has such a great year. And they were playing without Jim Rice, which was a big advantage to us, but at the same time, it was still the Boston Red Sox trying to win a World Series, which made it even more compelling for most of the fans, and everybody really was pulling for the Red Sox.
The Red Sox win the division by 4.5 over the Orioles, and then, as you say, they sweep the then three-time defending champion Oakland A's. The Big Red Machine beats the Dodgers by a ridiculous 20 games. But there's still a little bit of a monkey on your backs because you had lost the 70 World Series and the 72 World Series, and you're favored here.
Yeah, we were. And then and when we lost to the Oakland, a fly ball misjudged in center field cost that one. We got swept by the Orioles, well, in 5 games, basically. You might as well have been swept out because they were so good. But here we were with an opportunity and a chance, and we felt like the Big Red Machine was not going to be big anymore if we didn't win.
One of the reasons why this is the number one game, apart from the game itself, the cast of characters. You got Hall of Fame players on both sides, and the series itself, although this is the game best remembered, 5 of the 7 were decided by 1 run, including the 7th game. Lead changes, comebacks, it had everything. So quickly, let's take a look at how we got to Game 6.
Crowd on its feet here at Fenway on an overcast, raw day. And Petrocelli gloves it. A throw in time. And the Red Sox have drawn first blood in the 1975 World Series. Well hit to left center. It's in there. A run will score. It goes to the wall. Picked up by Lynn. Double. And the Reds have gone ahead for the first time in the series. This should do it. Popped up towards short. Concepcion. There. And that's it. As the Reds take it in the second game of the series.
They are saying that a batter, after bunting, interfered with Carlton Fisk, the catcher, in fair territory. Apparently, home plate umpire Larry Barnett is not going to reverse his decision. Barnett saying, runners on second and third, nobody out.
Morgan wins the ball game. That's it. And the Reds win it 6-5. And we'll have controversy after this one.
The payoff pitch. Fly ball hit well to center field. Lynn racing back. He will take the catch. And Fred Lynn has just turned into defensive play of the game.
He hits a blast in the deep left center. That's gone. Way back. What a way to come out of a slump the way Perez tonight. 2 homers, 4 runs batted in. There it is. Eastwood strikes, puts the belly out, and the Reds lead 3 games to 2.
Okay, so the Reds take a 3-2 lead back to Fenway for Game 6. But then it rains, so you've got the off day that's scheduled, and then 3 days of rain for you guys to sit around. It also allowed Darryl Johnson, the manager of the Red Sox, to bring Luis Tiant back, who had been ridiculously effective through September, through the LCS against the A's, and in winning games 1 and 4. Now he brings him back for Game 6. And you want to talk about a series in games with backstories? Senator George McGovern personally delivered a letter to Fidel Castro from Senator Ed Brooke of Massachusetts, asking that Luis Tiant's parents, whom he had not seen since 1961, be allowed to come watch him pitch in the World Series. Castro, former player himself, baseball fan, said yes. And as he put it, they can stay as long as they want. They wound up staying until they died. They never went back. They got to Boston. They said, we like it here. We're going to stay.
Yeah, it was a touching moment, and he got to throw out the first pitch as well. So, I mean, it was his father did, Louis' father did. It was a very touching moment because we know about the Cubans are such great baseball players. Tony Perez was also an exile from there, and it was a great story. Louis never impressed you, never overpowered you. It didn't seem like. All he did was get you out.
Before we go to the telecast of this game, the television story is also important. And for those who weren't around then to experience it, the World Series had primacy then. More than half the people watching television were watching the World Series, and the game kind of peaked in that era.
Well, it did, and it's important to remember about these rainouts. The games were scheduled 6 and 7 for day games on the weekend. The rain now forces them into prime time on weeknights, which we're so accustomed to that happening with sports and big events now. But back then, that was a big deal. And this really was a watershed moment because the ratings were through the roof for this series, but especially Game 6 and Game 7, and it paved the way for primetime sports, weeknights.
This is Sparky Anderson's lineup. Rose was the MVP of the series, hit over 300 again that year. You know, you look at the guys who didn't make the Hall of Fame on this team. Ken Griffey Sr., tremendous player. George Foster once hit 50 homers in a season. Dave Concepcion still gets some Hall of Fame support. Cesar Geronimo was a tremendous center fielder. Gary Nolan that year won 15 games. All right, here's the Red Sox lineup. Their manager, Darrell Johnson, did not make the Hall of Fame, unlike Sparky Anderson, the manager of the Reds. Cecil Cooper is at first base. Jim Rice had his hand broken by a Vern Rule pitch in September. He and Fred Lynn were a remarkable rookie tandem, so they're without Jim Rice. And Yaz, who had played first base almost the entire season, moves to left field, where he's still very, very good. And the young Cecil Cooper bats first, playing first base, kind of an odd leadoff man, and he wound up going 1 for 19 in the series.
Right, and you notice no DH at Fenway Park. First 3 years the DH was in use, 73, 74, 75. There's no DH in the World Series, not even alternating home and road National League, American League. So played under National League rules, and that will come into play many times.
Let's take a look at the guys who started the game. Nolan was 15 and 9. Tiant was 18 and 14. Misleading, though. The 4.02 misleading because from the last month of the regular season through the postseason, lights out. All right, let's get to the game, and to set it up, Tony Kubek.
Joe, do you get the feeling I did in talking to the Cincinnati hitters? They have not been impressed by Tiant's fastball.
In fact, Pete Rose was quoted, Johnny, as saying, he's doing it with mirrors. Just give me another shot at this guy.
I would have faced him every day. Every day. Never felt uncomfortable, but he kept getting out.
Rose has 6 hits and 18 times up. Has a double and a triple, and has driven in a run. And there's a line drive out to left field. Yastrzemski makes the one-handed catch.
Look at Yaz. Hadn't played much in left, but knew what to do.
He played actually very well in the Oakland series as well. Made some great plays out there against those guys.
He probably felt at home with the, I mean, he was the master of the monster. I mean, he was as good as they ever played the monster. And, I mean, he was such a great athlete to begin with. Now
here's Ken Griffey Sr. Everybody knows about his son. How good a player was Dad?
He was probably the really key part of setting up our whole lineup. He had like 37 or 47 infield hits. He had great speed. He'd steal a base. He was great defensively. I mean, he did everything that you needed to. He drew walks, he stole bases, and he could hit for a little power.
So Ken Griffey draws a walk.
Here's Joe Morgan. Won the first of his consecutive MVPs in 75. How great was this guy? 327, 17 homers, 94 RBIs, more than 100 runs scored, 67 steals, and 132 walks.
Best player I ever played with, maybe I ever saw. Steve win a game in all kinds of directions. Now, in this particular series and throughout the season, he didn't want Griffey running. He didn't want the distraction, which I thought in a couple of situations that if Griffey had been running, I mean, obviously we were very successful. We stole 10 bases in the World Series, but Joe right now is so mad at himself he can't see. He just made it out.
Wish you would have told us that. We might have pitched him differently.
All right, so Johnny, here you are. You said you want to face Tiant all day. You got him again for the third time.
Well, I got ran over at home plate in April of that year. I had 6 cortisone shots every 3 weeks because I had the damaged AC joint. The cartilage was so painful whenever I couldn't sleep at night. And whenever I tried to move my arms back and get my hands started back, and it was just like somebody sticking a needle in me. I mean, it was a very difficult series for me, and I was very disappointed with the way I performed.
And he strikes out. That's control for you. Next one after it, and Louis Tion strikes out Vince to retire the side. The Reds leave one. Red Sox come up, no score.
All right, when we come back, Billingham is already up in the Cincinnati bullpen.
Gary Nolan, who has made 5 previous World Series starts, his record 0-2 in World Series play. He started the 3rd game of the series, pitched 4 innings, allowed a run on 3 hits.
Okay, bottom of the first, game 6 at Fenway. Cecil Cooper leads it off for the Sox.
Nolan noted for his excellent control, slow curveball, sneaky fastball. And Joe, I've got to wonder this. With the wind blowing out, the wall in left field in Fenway, one of his, well, I guess his best pitch might be a straight change of pace, and might that affect him not wanting to throw it in this kind of conditions?
There is the changeup, and it's hit out to center fielder Cesar Geronimo, who is there making the catch for out number 1.
Cooper's not the prototypical leadoff guy. You know, he's a power guy. You know, for us to have him in a leadoff position in the series tells you how we were trying.
Who were you going to lead off? That was the problem. I mean, you really tried to get some speed. You had a choice of Beniquez and Cooper had been the DH most of the year, hadn't he, and done a really good job.
Yeah, that's why the lack of the DH in the series really set us back a little bit.
And Cooper eventually would become a big-time star. Perez has time to recover here, and Denny Doyle's out.
And now we have to face Yaz.
Did you know that he wouldn't swing at a breaking ball? He just doesn't swing at them.
Wish you'd have told me that. We had pretty good success with him, though. You know, we were very fortunate, first of all. With Jim out of the lineup, it really changed the dynamics of that lineup with Fred and then Yaz, and then, of course, having to face Jim at the same time would have really put some pressure on all of us. I mean, there's a pitch 3-0. I mean, how can you take 3-0 in a World Series with Yaz?
It's because it's hard for a left-hander to hit it out in these conditions. I mean, you got to crush it to get a ball out in this, when it's raining like that.
And a base hit. Solid single to right field.
All right, now as Carlton Fisk comes to the plate, we should note he is obviously the hero of this game, the way it turns out. We invited him a couple of times to be with us, and he declined. So we miss him, but we acknowledge not only that he's a Hall of Famer, but that he was part of one of the great moments in baseball history.
Carlton Fisk takes ball 1. 2 out, Yastrzemski is on base.
Nobody could imagine this game. I mean, you can't script this game, Bob. It's got everything. It's got great characters. The cast is unbelievable. And it's got people that just day in and day out are people that you can root for.
Now, this is interesting here, Johnny. I mean, obviously, Sparky's known as Captain Hook, but his starting pitcher has given up now 2 singles with 2 outs, and he's going to get the bullpen up first inning. That surprised you at all based on the way Nolan's
We've
throwing?
lost 2. I mean, we've lost 70 and 72, and he didn't want to take a chance. He believed in Jack Billingham, and I think that probably the confrontation somewhat between them caused a little bit of that.
Fastball tails away.
All right, Fred, here you are, 2 on, 2 out.
Well, in this situation, you know, I was in a power drought. You know, ever since September, I hardly pulled the ball with any authority at all. I was still getting hits, but I was basically going the other way. I'm saying just get the head out.
Like that?
It's a high fly ball deep to right field. Going back, Griffey, forget it. It's gone. And this place is rocking.
This is definitely a mistake. I mean, I was looking fastball, obviously. You could see I was jumping out to get it out in front. I felt like I was a little tardy most of the second half of the season. And the ball had a little tail on it. You're able to see it right here, and it's right down the middle. And that's the pitch you have to hit. I mean, really, it's a mistake by his part. And fortunately, I was able to hit it and drive it, which I had not been doing. So they probably said we could take a chance because I haven't hit a ball like that in a month.
But it is the 6th game of the World Series. It's amazing what the adrenaline will do.
Maybe Sparky should have pulled Nolan after Fisk's single.
We'll second guess forever, won't we? I mean, when we go back through it, and Sparky was the first always to second guess himself and say, it's my fault. It wasn't anybody else's fault. It was my fault.
Okay, Rico Petrocelli struck out to end the inning. Up next, an early appearance, no surprise to anyone, from Captain Hook. Neither team scored in the second. Reds starter Gary Nolan was removed for a pinch hitter in the top of the third, but the Reds didn't score. So we go now to the bottom of the third, and the Reds' new pitcher is Fred Norman.
I'll tell you what, he was just 5'8", comes out, a lot of guts, great screwball, will attack it. And, of course, now Sparky's got the opportunity, I think, for five of the next 6 hitters are left-handers.
And a pop-up. Shortstop Concepcion.
Yeah, this is the kind of lefty that gave us trouble. We hit lefties, power pitchers pretty well, but we didn't hit the guys that were off-speed, breaking ball kind of guys. We had trouble with that kind of pitcher, and this guy gave us trouble.
Denny Doyle had a good World Series. Darryl Johnson, the manager, looking on.
Well, he hit safely in every game.
And there's a base hit down the right field line into the corner, and the ball gets away a bit from Griffey. Doyle will hold it second with a double. Here's to Carl Yastrzemski. Doyle, the runner, at second. And he pops it up to the right side. Joe Morgan makes the catch, took a look at where Denny
Norman
Doyle
had that. He had a sneaky fastball.
Had a very sneaky.
You know, it was a little short armor. He'd curveball, and then zit, and he'd get on you with an 85-mile-an-hour fastball.
He could throw the slider and add the screwball to go along with it. I mean, there was a pretty good fastball in on Yaz's hands that looked like it totally fooled him. And, of course, if you haven't seen Freddie, it is kind of a mystery.
Now, Fred, you had homered earlier off Nolan, but with the left-hander on the mound, they're going to walk Fisk intentionally to face you.
Yeah, it was a good play on Sparky's part. And, you know, I expected it. I wasn't caught unawares. But now, as a hitter, I'm thinking, okay, I got to hit that breaking ball because he's not going to give me a fastball to hit.
Well, Sparky had it figured out. He was going to let Norman face the lefties, Cooper, Doyle, Yaz. The pass to Fisk. Now here comes Lynn. Petrocelli, a right-handed batter, is on deck.
Yeah, in these kind of situations against lefties, that's the one I wanted. He gave me the high fastball, and I said, I got to hit this one right here.
Yeah, well, look where we threw it. Ooh, he went. Come on, you didn't check that swing.
Oh, that wasn't even
What's
close.
Wrong with
what
that?
Are you begging
there were no
still?
umpire controversies in this whole series. I thought it was played really nicely.
That's because you bought them off.
Just because they know the rules.
National League umpire behind the plate, so you knew they were going to call everything low.
Satch Davidson, plate umpire.
In the 7th game, Yaz took a pitch and complained about it. And when the umpire called him out and he walked away, and the umpire said, if he thinks that was bad, wait till he comes up the next time.
Ooh.
Yeah, umpires had long memories in those days. I remember that. And as a rookie, I never said a word to them because they would just ring you up on anything close. But in this situation here, I'm looking for a breaking ball, and that's what I'm looking for. If he throws a fastball in, I'm out.
And a full count now on Fred Lynn.
But he doesn't, missing away full count.
Yeah, but you could have chased that.
No, I'm thinking breaking ball. That's why I didn't swing.
So now they're loaded for Petrocelli, and Norman is done. Thomas Sparky prepares to go to the bullpen again. It's worth reminding people that in those days, teams carried 10 pitchers. Scratch one of them, Gullett. He's going to pitch Game 7 if there is one. He's already into his 3rd of 9.
Yeah, he's made it clear. At least he's going to get some length, or expects some length out of a guy like Billingham, who's a starting pitcher. It's amazing. I look back at your 75 team. Sparky had only 12 pitchers the entire season. So it was remarkable the way he used
Well, it was
his
durable.
bullpen.
They were
and
very
you had
durable.
guys who could do both start and relief.
They really did. And plus you had Bourbon and Clay Carroll. And he had great innings out of them, and you could get 2 innings out of either Eastwick or McEnany. And now in this situation, you say you have 10 pitchers, Gullett's out. Clay Kirby's arm was basically broke. I mean, he was not going to even warm up. Now, he might try, but I mean, he was not included in the rotation of any form of coming in relief at all.
So here comes Petrocelli with a chance to break the game open, bases loaded, facing Billingham.
And Petrocelli goes after a sharp-breaking ball way outside, and the side is retired. Billingham does the job.
When MLB's 20 Greatest Games returns with game number 1, it's the Red Sox again trying to add to their lead. Okay, bottom of the 4th. Red Sox lead 3-0. Dwight Evans at the plate.
The 2-2 pitch to Evans. That's out to right field. Griffey really has to run for this one. Won't get it, and it's into the stands for a ground rule double to the opposite field. And that'll be the 2nd double of the game for the Red Sox and their, 6th hit.
That's how strong Dewey was. I mean, he just flicked that ball, hit it about 350 down the line.
Well, he was really an afterthought from everybody. I mean, I think all of us had a scouting report. I mean, he's 6'4", he's strong as as strong as and wiry and everything else, and we respected him. But he was being overlooked by a lot of the press, and because of the names that you had with Yaz and Jim and yourself.
Well, he, 7th or 8th in our lineup. We couldn't get him in the top of the lineup or the middle of the lineup, and pretty good guy at 8th for you.
Leadoff double by Evans, then a walk to Burleson. That's one of the things about this series. You talk about the Hall of Fame guys. Then you talk about guys like Fred Lynn or Dave Concepcion or Dwight Evans, who are not in the Hall of Fame, but at the peak of their powers, they were pretty darn good.
Had great careers, through that sequence and everything else. I mean, everybody had sort of grown to like them during this World Series. They had become sort of, they're guys that they were able to root for. And there wasn't really a guy on any team that you didn't want to root for.
Now, here's a bunt situation, but remember again, because of the DH, Tiant has not batted in 3 years.
Perez has one play, first base.
Perez was actually charging so hard the bunt went over his head, but he retreated and picked it up.
This was planned.
Well, there's still
Louis had back control.
Yeah, let me get that over there.
Second and third, one out, and the Reds draw their infield in now as Cecil Cooper. Cooper has hit the ball in the air twice tonight, to center and to shortstop.
Only one out, so you got to pull the infield in, down 3-0.
Yeah, against a left-handed hitter, which, it doesn't necessarily mean it, but we've got one of the better sinker ball pitchers in all of baseball.
And Coop was a low ball hitter. I mean, this was Coop's situation. He just swung right over the top of it. Coop in those days was a pull hitter. He tried to pull everything. When he went to Milwaukee, he started going the other way, like Rod Carew. Got into Rod Carew's stance, became a much better hitter.
Sparky's hoping for some length here out of Billingham, so he's got to go against his Captain Hook instincts and leave him in here to work out of trouble.
Yeah, but as Johnny said, he's a guy who's going to throw ground balls, pitch to weak contact, and here he gets 2 ground balls to get out of a tough situation.
Yeah, 2 pitches back-to-back and got out of that inning with runners at second and third. I mean, an amazing, really, feat. And you can see why he was upset, why he wasn't started. First of all, he wouldn't have given up that home run to Fred Lynn.
Hey, I was a pretty good low ball hitter too, John.
Yeah.
But you know what? Our field is conducive to sinker ballers. It was damp. The dirt was slow. You had to pound them to get them out of there. And in front of home plate, it was always wet. We liked that when Bill Lee was pitching. So Billingham was a natural for that kind of field.
Well, it's still a 3-0 game. Coming up, Fred Lynn versus the Fenway Wall.
Who's going to win that fight?
Not me.
Okay, the top of the 5th opens with a Cesar Geronimo flyout, and now with the pitcher's spot due, Ed Armbrister bats for Jack Billingham, facing Tiant.
He loses him, and Armbrister draws a walk. That's the second base on balls given up by Tiant.
So Armbrister gets the pinch hit walk. Back to Pete.
Again, Armbrister on the move, and Rose lines a base hit to center field. Armbrister will try to go to third, and Lynn will throw to second.
So first and third now with 1 out, and the Reds still down 3-0.
So once again, the Reds, last inning they had runners at first and third with 2 out. Now they have runners at first and third with 1 out, and the heart of the Reds order coming up, Ken Griffey. That'll be out of play to the left side.
There's another fastball, John. It got by him. You're looking for a fastball hitter, and got by him.
This is outside, 1-1.
He really drives. I mean, if for any young pitcher, watch how he stays back. Of course, he does the gyrations and everything else, but he drives so hard. There's an overhand, what used to be in Bob's day, a drop. In our day, it's called a curveball.
I remember when Lefty Grove threw it.
And a fly ball deep to center field. Lynn going way back, and he can't make the play. It's off the wall. Evans will recover, and Lynn is not up. He has been shaken up. 1 run comes in. Here comes Rose with the second run, and Freddie Lynn is hurt. In the corner.
That's it's hard to watch. In fact, I didn't watch it for many, many years, and it's everybody thought I was knocked out at this point. In reality, what happened is you'll see me come to the wall right here, and I turn at the last second, and I hit it with my backside. And when I went down, I had absolutely no feeling from the waist down. So I thought I'd either cracked my back, broken the back. I didn't know what was going on. I had no feeling, so I just lay motionless. I was very alert. I knew what was going on. I listened to my teammates around me, and when the trainer came out, I was fully conscious, but I took quite a whack. There's no question. There was no padding in those days. It was concrete. And I'd run a ball down that Griffey hit in Cincinnati, very similar to that, and I just ran out of room here. I needed one more step, and I lost. I didn't quite get there. Had to turn, hit that wall, and knocked about an inch off my height.
Shortly after that, they put the padding in, right?
Yeah, if I left anything for this ball to baseball, my legacy would be that play right there got padding on the walls. The commissioner of baseball was there. Everybody in the world saw it. And the next year, padding, albeit thin padding, was on the walls next year.
So when you're on the ground, you can't get up. That must have been scary.
I was very frightened. When you can't feel anything below your waist, your instinct is not to move. And that's what I did. And what happened, when you hit your funny bone, you get that feeling? Well, that's when I started to feel, and the feeling started to come in below my waist, and I get that tingling feeling. So I started getting up to make sure everything was kind of still connected. And I said, yeah, I'm good to go.
So at that point, the way you're prone on the warning track, people are thinking, we hope he's not seriously hurt. We hope his career isn't affected. As it turns out, once you shake it off, you can stay in the game.
Yeah, it's going to take more than that to get you out of a World Series game. Had I hit my head and been knocked out, maybe that's a different story. They'd cut you off the field. Or maybe not in those days. But, I was okay. I felt okay. It was hurting a little bit, but it's certainly not enough to get me out of the game.
So that produces 2 runs, a triple by Griffey. It's 3-2. Let's rejoin the inning. Griffey on third, Joe Morgan trying to knock in the tying run.
Here's an aggressive move by your manager, Darryl Johnson, to play the infield in with a 1-run lead and Joe Morgan at the plate. Huge out right there.
We all just went, whoo, we dodged a big bullet right there, because all he has to do is hit the ball on the ground, and it's through. And Joe's a great hitter, and that was a big out by Louis.
All right, Johnny, Tiana struck you out twice in this game to this point. Big spot.
You don't have to always bring that up, Bob.
And there's a line drive, left field. Yastrzemski going back will play it off the wall.
Well, then how about this?
Well, I'll take this one, everything else, finally. But, here's Yaz playing it perfectly, and everybody talks about the single, that you off the wall. And, as I came around there, I didn't have great speed anyway, but as I came around first, Yaz was already wheeling by the time I got to even down the line. But this one is just off the end of the bat. Again, movement by Louis' fastball, maybe just a little bit of a cutter.
Payoff pitch, there goes Bench. Perez strikes out to retire the side.
So with Burton and Willoughby warming up, Tiant strikes Perez out to end the inning, but the Reds have drawn even.
You know what? At that point, we were just saying, okay, brand new ball game. But the problem is they stole the momentum from us. You could feel the fans just deflate. Uh-oh, here they go again. This is my first time at it, so I wasn't feeling like that. But I could feel the fans, the enthusiasm was being sucked right out of them. And we could feel that in the dugout.
When we come back, a defensive lapse by the Red Sox. The Red Sox didn't score in the bottom of the 5th. We go to the top of the 6th. Fred Lynn shaken up badly, but remaining in the game. Now in the 6th, after a George Foster ground out and a Davey Concepcion flyout, Cesar Geronimo was at the plate for Cincinnati.
Fair ball. Now it's going to come off that short wall, and Geronimo, if he heads for second, oops, he puts on the brakes, and it's just what you were talking about, Tony, as Burleson got out there.
Here's Terry Crowley, a career-long excellent pinch hitter, no matter what team he was with. Clay Carroll had come into the game earlier. Now he's out, as Crowley will bat for him.
Crowley, 268 here. Off the handle, a one-hopper to Burleson. He's going to go.
Burleson looking to second, but Doyle isn't there. What happened there, Freddie?
Obviously we're playing Crow as a pull hitter. Most of their left-handers, we did do that. And he got jammed. It looked like a breaking ball. He got fisted, and I think it fooled some of the infielders here because it looks like a line drive. It looked like it was going to be a line drive to Rooster, so maybe Denny has a hesitation, doesn't get over. But in some, you got to make it out somewhere. I mean, that's just a routine ball to short. They gave him a hit.
Yeah, scored as a single. So suddenly now, 2
What
on.
do they want? Fielders watch?
2 on with 2 out for Rose.
These are the kind of things you just don't want to do against a good club.
In this case, Burleson decides, I'll do it myself.
Yeah. And then there he is, the little Bantam Rooster. See him strutting in there?
Can you imagine? I mean, I don't know where you were at that particular time, but can you imagine now? I mean, just re-watching this, I've never watched it as totally as I have now, but just think about all the innings, all the pressure. I mean, there was something happening almost every inning that was just like, I mean, if you're a fan, you had to be all over yourself.
All right, now as we look ahead in this game, Sparky's already gone to his bullpen a few times, but the question for the Red Sox, how long can Luis Tiant stay in? Okay, the Red Sox didn't score in the bottom of the 6th. To the top of the 7th, Ken Griffey Sr. at the plate, Joe Garagiola at the mic.
Here's Griffey. Base hit. Right field. Griffey continues to hit swing a hot bat.
I don't know how the ball got through. I really don't.
It did. You know, the seeing eye, that's right. I guess that's where it started.
Here's the ball going out to...
Well, actually, Cecil was playing him kind of shallow. I mean, Ken never really bunted that much, and here he was again. And now we're not going to run again.
We expected you to run more. We really did.
And Joe just wouldn't let him.
And so did Tony Kubek. Tony Kubek just remarked they ought to unleash those runners now.
Well, it was just a rule that Joe had. It was a distraction to him. He could see it out of the corner of his eye.
Line drive, left field, base hit. Griffey is rounding second, and he's going to hold. Yastrzemski fires it right back in. First and second, nobody out.
There again, Joe shows what a great hitter he is by going the other way.
Yeah, we didn't play for him to do that.
Couldn't. You
no,
couldn't play for
we
him.
had him with dead pull, and if he hit the ball over here, that's against the defense.
But look at Yaz with a speedy runner, Griffey, getting over to the line and holding him to second base as Johnson goes to the mound. 2 men on. Johnny's the next hitter.
What are you thinking here, Johnny? Drago, who's really emerged as the Boston closer, is ready in the bullpen. 4th look at Tiant in this game for
Made
you.
no difference. I mean, Louis was getting me out, but it didn't really matter. I was going to be up there to make something happen, and I don't know what Mr. Johnson was thinking, but you know, Louis basically told him to go sit down in the dugout and he'd get those guys out.
That's pretty much, I think, what happened. I've never been akin to those things, being a center fielder, but you have to pull the ball out of Louis' hand to get it out of there.
Now, I've never wondered why you guys in center field never came in for any of those meetings.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Being in the center field, you do get a pretty good look and see what their pitcher's doing, if he's hitting his spots or not.
Left field, Yastrzemski's going back. And
You tried that once, it worked, but don't do that again. The wall's a little further than you thought.
Here I am. I mean, I was reaching for it again and everything else, but if your left shoulder can't stay in there, you're going to hit a lot of balls like that and swing in a lot of pitches. But here's Tony now, who had been 0 for 15, and now he's 3 for his last 5.
Including 2 homers. So here's what Tiant faces with 2 on and nobody out. Bench, Perez, and he's going to retire him. So he's gotten Johnny and he's gotten Perez.
Here's the throw. It is
Griffey advances to 3rd, so there's runners at 1st and 3rd, and he's still got to deal with Foster.
There he goes. Straight away center field. Lynn is going back. That ball is off the wall. 1 run is in. Here comes Morgan. He'll score, and the Cincinnati Reds lead 5-3. Ball hit high off the top of the wall.
Yeah, that's a hanging breaker ball from Louis, and you can see it right here. It's up in the zone. He's throwing, 150 pitches by then. It didn't have the bite to it, and George just hammered it off the wall.
2 balls and a strike, 2 outs, 5-3, Cincinnati leading. Hot smash. Burleson's going to have a long throw. There it is. He makes it. Beautiful throw. That ends the inning, but Cincinnati scoring 2 runs. Bottom of the 7th, 5-3, Cincinnati.
So from up 3-0, the Red Sox are now down 5-3. Darryl Johnson sticks for the moment with Tiant. Talk about having confidence in your horse, and he gets Concepcion to end the inning. The Red Sox then go out 1-2-3 in the bottom of the 7th. They're running out of outs as the Reds come up in the top of the 8th.
It'll be Cesar Geronimo to lead it off for the Cincinnati Reds.
Well hit right field. That ball, if it's fair, she's gone. It is a fair ball. Home run for Geronimo.
I thought that was really the sealer right there. I mean, I thought that was absolutely a world champion home run. We were going to be the World Series champions.
Geronimo hit only 6 homers during the season.
Yeah, well, that's an indication of the fastball. It's not there anymore because that ball was in. That's the one they've been fouling off, and he got the head out.
And in some ways, Darryl Johnson very much the opposite of Sparky Anderson in personality and the way he liked to run games. I mean, he liked to stick with his pitchers, in this case with his horse with Tiant, and listen to the ovation he gets walking off this field.
Standing ovation. Well deserved for Louis Tiant.
It was pretty quiet in our dugout. You know, I mean, we were on the field then. Louis comes out, you know, big ovation, but our backs are against the wall.
Backs against the wall, yes, but when we come back, an unlikely hero will emerge. Okay, after the Geronimo homer made it 6-3 Reds and Tiant was removed from the game, Roger Moret came out of the bullpen, set down the next 3 Cincinnati hitters. So that takes care of the top of the 8th. To the bottom half, 6-3 Cincinnati.
Lynn hit a 3-run homer in the first inning. That's been all the scoring. And that came off for Gary Nolan. Fred Norman, Jack Billingham, Clay Carroll, and now Bourbon have held the Red Sox to only 3 hits. Off his leg, Bourbon challenging it. But he can't make a play. Lynn, a single.
John, I don't know if that gets through if it doesn't hit his leg.
I don't think so either. I mean, you mentioned how slow the infield was to begin with. Davey covers a lot of ground. But can you imagine? I mean, here's right off his heel. It hits so hard, it kicks over to the right. Now, I know Pedro's going to throw this thing into somewhere in Massachusetts, but I don't know where it's going to be because I don't want him to take that chance. Or at least we keep the force out available to us. And here's Rico, who's 7 for 22. I didn't realize that he'd actually had 7 hits in that series.
He got some big hits in Cincinnati.
Eastwick, the right-hander. McEnany, the left-hander.
So you see how upset Bourbon is.
Well, he was tight.
Walking a batter.
Quite honestly, he was very tight. He had trouble letting go of it. Now, here's the dilemma for Sparky. He really felt in his gut that he should be going out and get McEnany to come in to pitch. I mean, if you listen to what Sparky had to say, Sparky will always blame himself.
Well, he's got Evans, a right-handed hitter, and Burleson, a right-handed hitter, and then you've got a pinch hitter. It could be Beniquez, right-handed, could be Carbo, left-handed. So far, so good for Sparky because Eastwick strikes Evans out.
Here's Burleson now, big strikeout for Eastwick. And there is the on-deck batter coming out.
Well, at this point, they're starting to collect ballots in the press box for World Series MVP.
And
Eastwick is going to win it. He's already got 2 wins in the series, and here he's got the clinching save
why
in
did
order.
they cut away to that guy in the on-deck circle?
A glimpse of Carbo on deck.
Left field, Foster is there. Makes the
And
play.
Burleson flies out to Foster in shallow left. So now, here's your situation. First and second, 2 out. Darryl Johnson's going to send Bernie Carbo up to hit. Sparky could go to the left-hander McEnany, in which case Johnson counters probably by pulling Carbo back and sending up the right-handed hitting Beniquez.
Right. Well, I would never, ever, didn't matter which side of the plate somebody faced, I would never take Raleigh Eastwick out of a game. It didn't make any difference in the matchup as far as I was concerned. We'll see in this next at-bat, and we'll see him strike out right-handers with fastballs away. We'll see it. We'll see an at-bat that will just absolutely blow your mind. It's one of the worst and the best at-bats that I've ever seen.
Well, let's talk to the guy who had the at-bat. As Bernie Carbo heads from the on-deck circle to the plate, we head to Mobile, Alabama, and there is Bernardo. Tell us what you're thinking as you're walking toward the plate that night.
Well, when Johnson told me to pinch hit, I told Juan Beniquez to get ready because Sparky would go to Will McEnany. So on the on-deck circle, I had no idea that I was even going to come to play. When the umpire said, "You're going to bat," I was like, I can't believe this. I believe when I got in the batter's box, I looked at Bench and said, "Bench, I'm hitting. I can't believe I'm hitting, Johnny."
So here we go. Bernie Carbo pinch hitting and facing Raleigh Eastwick.
Now here's Bernie. Bernie is, you know, he goes up there just with a plan of hitting the ball hard. And I don't think there's any question right now that we can challenge him. I mean, there's a great fastball, and you'll see this fastball, unfortunately, one more time in the at-bat. But now, you know, I know he likes to extend his arms. Here's that slider. We missed it, just sort of a cutter inside.
Well, I'm standing on second. When he took that first one, I said, ooh, that was the one you wanted to hit.
That was it.
As a pinch hitter, first ball fastball is what you usually attack.
Yeah, you know, he did throw it right by you, Bernie. And I mean, it's like, but it still didn't matter. Bernie never let one pitch, unfortunately, affect him in an at-bat. See, here we are busting him again. We like to get that thing in. So we busted him. We've got him away. We've got it in. And now, you know, he's just sort of carrying it across his body. But let's see one more time what he can do.
In this situation, I thought, you know what? I don't want to take this third strike. I think he's going to come back with a fastball. And I just kind of made up my mind. If he had thrown it behind my back, I would have swung at it.
Bernie, this next swing, I've got to have you describe it for us. What are you thinking here?
Are you okay? I'm thinking he's going to throw me another fastball. He's throwing two by me. He's overpowered me. I can't catch up to his fastball. And wow.
He had it on the umpire's shoe.
I took it right out of Bench's glove. Took it right out of his glove. Now, where's Bench arguing with the umpire?
Which would have been better for us.
Yeah, right. There I am, right out of his glove. And John argues with the umpire. That pitch was a strike. That pitch was a strike. I'm thinking, man, I just almost struck out.
Deep center field, way back, way back. We're tied up.
When I hit it, I really didn't think the ball was out of the park. And as I rounded first, I saw Geronimo turn his back, and I said, man, this ball's got a chance. And the next thing I know, it's a home run. So I'm looking at Pete Rose, and, hey, Pete, what's up, Pete? Don't you wish you were that strong, Pete? Come on, Pete. Hey, this is fun. This is what it's about, World Series play.
Bernie, you almost flew around the bases. Can you recall, besides getting on Pete as you approached third, what you were thinking?
Well, again, I didn't think it was a home run. And I was running. I thought I was going to get a double. And if it came off the wall, I was hoping maybe to get a triple or something like that. But when I saw Geronimo turn his back, and I saw the fans stand up, I said, this ball's out of here. As lost as I was in the world and caught up in everything, that home run, who would ever thought at that moment, that home run, today, 36 years later, that I get the opportunity to do what I do. It's given me an opportunity to go out and tell people what my life has changed, and I've turned away from the things of the world and alcohol and drugs, and I've been clean for 17 years now.
Well,
so
Bernie,
I'm very excited, but that home run was a moment.
You've been very honest in addressing your addictions. What were they like during this World Series, perhaps even on this night?
Well, the bad thing, we had 3 rainouts, and we were supposed to go to Tufts University to work out, and I was into the wind. There was no way that I even knew where Tufts University was or be able to get myself in the condition to go to Tufts University to work out. Those 3 days rainouts and things, my life started with a drink, a drug, from morning to night, and with those 3 days of rainouts, I was totally wasted. And when I got to the ballpark, I wasn't really together, and maybe it was better that, you know, in a sense that that's basically how I played every game of my baseball career, my major league career. What was really amazing to me, without any batting practice and with coming to the bat at that situation and taking the worst swing and then taking the great swing and hitting the ball out of the park, you know, God had even a plan for my life even then.
Bernie, it's our greatest game. You are a big part of it. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. It's been great listening to you guys, and thank you so much for having me, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, the game is now tied at 6-6. Up next, Denny Doyle discusses what really happened in the bottom of the ninth.
We're in the top of the ninth. We're all tied up. And Joe Morgan, 5 for 21 in the series, and he's 1 for 4 tonight. Popped up. Yastrzemski makes the play. Petrocelli, one-hand grab. 2 away. Tony is 1 for 4. Struck out in the second, the fifth, single in the fourth. Off the handle, may be playable. Yastrzemski makes the play. 3 up, 3 down. We go to the bottom of the ninth. All tied. Cincinnati 6, Boston 6.
Okay, as Dick Drago set the Reds down 1-2-3 in the top of the ninth, he saw Yaz make a couple of catches at first base. Cecil Cooper made the last out in the bottom of the eighth after the pinch hit homer by Bernie Carbo. Then they double switched. Carbo stayed in the game, played left. Yaz moved from left to first base, replacing Cooper on the field. Now Denny Doyle joins us because he will be a key figure in the bottom of the ninth. And as we go back to the action, Dick Stockton is working it with Joe Garagiola.
It'll be Doyle, Yastrzemski, and Fisk in the bottom of the ninth.
Denny, you'd had a good series. What are you thinking here?
Well, I'm thinking one thing. Got to get on the base. That's for sure. Get a good pitch. And it's time to make something happen to come back.
All 4. Johnny Bench wanted that one. A little bit of confusion, but it was ball 4.
You weren't sure that was ball 4, and Johnny was sure it was at the letters and should have been a strike.
Look at him. He ducks down. He looks like Goodell out there in the midfield. I mean, it's like, what are you doing?
Hey, it works.
Eddie Goodell is 5 foot, 4 foot, 3'6" or something, and you're jumping down trying to get on base.
How did I make out? Actually, I don't know if it was Johnny's gripe or the umpire griping at Johnny that made the sound that I stopped, and I didn't want to show the umpire up, so I stopped to see what's going on back there.
How about this?
How about Yaz? He's got 1 sack bunt in the previous 8 years.
I've never seen him bunt.
It right there.
I've never seen him bunt. He never even bunted at BP. You know, the 2 mandatory bunts? No, 2 more swings.
A definite shock when he tried to bunt.
I don't think it was a bad, though. I mean, I thought it was a situation where you had to get some runner in scoring position. He hadn't really pounded the ball or been anything. He got a key hit into left field a bit earlier, but I don't think it's too much to ask. I mean, you're trying to win a World Series game.
Well, Pete was still charging there on the 0-1 pitch, and Yaz tried to slap it past him.
Yeah, well, he's never done that either in batting practice.
Right field, base hit. Griffey up with it. Doyle heads for third. He's there.
All right, so you guys have runners at the corners with nobody out, and a run wins the game.
I just love that swing. Yaz was not a low ball hitter. He was a high ball hitter for a left-handed hitter, which was very unusual.
That was Yaz's 9th hit of the series, and here's Sparky.
What's the conversation here, Johnny? First and third, nobody out.
Well, it's just a situation here where he's got to make the choice. I mean, he's already seen Raleigh overstriding. He didn't have a choice. He knew what he wanted to do with Fred being the guy that we were going to face. You got to walk the bases loaded. They're going to come up and put Carlton on and give it, put him in a situation where we get a force out. And at this time, it really didn't look good at all.
He wants to talk to the manager, Darrell Johnson, while Johnny Bench has a meeting as they wait for Will McEnany to come in. There goes Carlton Fisk to first. Yastrzemski goes to second.
So here's the second time that Fisk has been walked intentionally ahead of Lynn, but Freddie has a single and a homer tonight. Bases loaded, nobody out.
High fly ball, left field. Foster's got a shot. They're tagging up at third. Here comes the throw. It is in time. Doyle is out. Foster to Bench.
Wow. If you take it back and you take a look at the ball coming down, first of all, George Foster probably, I don't know, did he throw anybody out that year?
I don't think so, but he had 52 home runs. He didn't have to.
That's right. You got a good point there. Touche. However, he's right on the line, up against the fans, up against the wall, and he's one of the guys that Don came and said, hey, this guy, we're going to take advantage of it. But I wasn't sure that nobody out, bases loaded, was the time to do that. And so all I heard was the word go. and I heard it twice.
Not
And
don't
so I
go.
figured, no. What eventually was said, he quoted in the newspaper the next day, was that he said to me, "You can't go, don't go," and I heard the word that I wanted to hear. And when it boils down to it, I screwed it up because he was the man. He was the authority, and I counted on him for everything. And I just assumed that was it, and I was doing the right thing.
See, now the way the story has been told through the years was that he was saying no, 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 and you heard go, go, go. But you're telling us something different now.
Well, I'm telling you what I know. I mean, I heard number one, but I also read number two, and I'm saying, well, you know what? It really doesn't matter. You're out, and this guy knocks me on my can, which he thought it hurt, it didn't, and then eventually Fisk is going to be the hero of the century. I'm saying, wow. And I didn't get any of that.
You didn't get any of that. But you know, watching that replay again, I mean, George could have hit somebody's hand and throwing it in from the outfield.
Really?
I mean, that was a more difficult throw than I can remember. He did take a half step into the field to throw it, and maybe I've heard that maybe the foul line actually gave him something to throw down because he did not have the most accurate of arms. But in that situation, it wasn't too deep. He made a great throw under the circumstances, and you know, Denny. I thought Denny made the right move.
It's almost impossible to have a ball land foul between the chalk and the stands at Fenway Park. Sometimes in a situation like this, an outfielder will have the presence of mind to say, if I'm not going to be able to throw the guy out, I'll let it drop foul. A, you couldn't be sure it was foul, too close. B, it was shallow enough that he knew he had a shot at him.
You made a great point, too, about the throwing lane. If the ball is anywhere more towards the inside of the field, you might not be able to get back in time for the tag. If it's any more on the foul side, it probably hits the runner.
Exactly.
The ball went the only place it could have.
But John, I think, made the better play because the throw hopped towards first base. John went out and was agile enough to get it and then come back to get Denny. If he doesn't make that play, if he goes out and he flicks off his glove, the game's over. Yeah, it wasn't well hit. It was a lot of things, but John made a good play, and it's still bang, bang. Bang, bang.
Let me get him thinking about don't look for the fastball because I called for the slider. Now, we've been working on the signals for 8 months, okay? 8 months, we've got it down. And we're using a combination of 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, pumps after 2. So anytime you see 2 fingers go down, you count the number of signs I give after. So I 1, 2, 3, 1, 3. So I give him the slider. So I'm setting up, here comes the slider. And it's a fastball over here, inside. And Fred, I guess, looking for the fastball, made up his mind to go for it. Why wouldn't you if you get a pitch in the area? He pops it up down the left field line. And I don't think I would have caught the ball. If he hadn't have swung at it, I think the game's over. And now
Would have been a wild pitch.
Would have been a wild pitch. Because his slider was like this big, and I'm reaching to get on the outside edge, and it's over on the inside corner. And so now, after the play's over, I grab Will, and I called him everything in a book. I said, Will, I gave you the slider. 1, 2, 3, 1, 3 for the slider. And he looked at me in his best left-handed reliever insanity. He said, well, sometimes those things work out, don't they? And Zach Davidson came out and said, what's going on? I said, you wouldn't understand it. It's a little too technical for you. But he was backing it up. And here we are in the 9th inning with the bases loaded, getting a double play off a pitch that I called that he threw wrong. And it was just a decision he made. So, I mean, how many things went right? But we wouldn't be here if all of this hadn't happened. Yeah. We wouldn't be the #1 game.
McInerney stayed in, got Petrocelli to ground out. That sent the game to extra innings. What was it like in the dugout when you arrived?
I'm trying to forget that, but I know it was very silent. There wasn't too much going on in there except people were taking deep breaths and turning around and walking away, which I don't blame them.
I felt terrible. I felt terrible. You know, I felt like I lost the game for the club. I mean, I have a chance to drive in and run, and I should have. On that pitch there, I should have been able to drive that ball off the wall, and had it been June, I would have. But I was just a little tardy.
I never even thought about that. I mean, everybody wants to say about Denny's running, but I guess, you know, a situation where if you're a hitter and a power hitter and an RBI person, you're standing up there. And I don't know that I ever heard you even.
Well, Denny took the brunt of it, but it was really, if I hit the ball 10 feet further, he scores. You know, so there's lots of things that happen on a particular play.
Hey. Denny, did you revisit that play with Don Zimmer after the inning or in a happier moment after the game?
No, no way.
That wasn't the way Zim was.
No, he wasn't that way, and I wasn't that way either. I mean, the idea was you did your job, he did his job, I tried to do mine, let's go on tomorrow.
So the Reds escape a bases loaded, nobody out jam, and that sends the game to extra innings.
We go to the top of the 10th. 6'6" Drago is the pitcher. He'll be facing Foster, Concepcion, and Geronimo.
So here's Foster, who made the throw that resulted in the double play. Now he's at the plate to lead off top of the 10th.
One hopper to Burleson at shortstop. Guns it over to...
And how about the job Drago did for you? Bob, you mentioned he got the Reds 1-2-3 in the 9th. 3 Hall of Famers, 1-2-3 in the 9th, and gave up only 1 run this entire postseason.
Yeah, Dragon was our closer. We didn't. That's a loose interpretation of the word because by committee most of the time. But he was our guy. He threw hard, good fastball, a little bit of slider, and was not afraid. Not afraid to challenge anybody.
You know, what's kind of lost in the shuffle in this game is first Moret, then Drago, then Wise. After Tiant departed, they all held the Reds in check to set the stage for Fisk. So the base hit up the middle by Concepcion, and here's Geronimo, who homered to finish Tiant in the 8th.
I don't know how many times we've seen it as players. The home team doesn't score in the bottom of the 9th when they should. Usually the visiting team comes up and they put runs on the board right away.
You got a sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach, Denny?
Yes, yes. We had it where we wanted it. Everything worked together, and then it changed.
Well, it's hard. I don't care where you are. I mean, you build yourself up so quick. You're going to win. You're going to win. This is impossible to lose with the bases loaded in the 9th inning.
So here's Concepcion stealing second base and in scoring position.
Well, I mean, we stole over 200 bases, and that's what made it us. And it's a lot easier to run if you keep your helmet from running underneath you. But Davey could run, Cesar could run, Griffey was as good as it got, and Joe only ran when he needed to, as a rule, and when he did, he was successful.
Here's the 1-2 pitch. Gets a piece of it, fouls it back.
So with Geronimo at the plate, the pitcher's spot is next. So unless Geronimo comes through with a hit, Sparky's going to have to pull McEnany for a pinch hitter.
Captain Hook, and I mean, he was really now walking on, eggshells, because he's down to, we got 2 pitchers in the bullpen, and one of them's really not available to throw.
Full count now to Geronimo.
Yeah, I think our pitching staff didn't get enough credit in this series because they held their big guys down pretty well, considering who they were.
Well, that's pretty good. I mean, watching Dick, I don't remember him, enough in all those games. But I mean, he's throwing some really quality pitches, and of course he's fresh. The bullpen's giving him a chance to do it, and now I guess Johnson's going to talk, and you sort of have an idea what he's going to do as far as who's going to be the pinch hitter.
Yeah, well, you've got Dreesen. You had a nice bench, Johnny.
Well, how would you like to have Dreesen as your DH? You wanted to keep bringing up that DH. Well, the next year, Dreesen became the DH, and I mean, he could hit.
The 1-1 pitch. In the air, behind third, Burleson, Petrocelli, and Carbo one hang in fair territory to retire the side.
And I have to mention that Drago was really the bulldog that they talked about earlier. He was a guy that had no fear and came in and had movement and knew what he was doing. And he was kind of the unsung bullpen guy.
Denny, thanks very much. And when we come back, Dwight Evans will be with us, at least on tape, on one of the most improbable catches in World Series history. This is MLB's 20 greatest games, and this one is number 1.
I went up to bat and I looked back at Carlton Fisk. I said, man, isn't this the most exciting game you ever played in?
This is the greatest game I've ever played in. This may be the greatest game in the history of the game. This is the greatest game, and I'm just glad to, yakking and going on?
I was telling the truth. I was having fun. I mean, win, lose, or draw, man, I was happy to play in this game. I mean, let me tell you something, man. I played 3,500 games, and that's the most exciting game I ever played in.
Not much dispute about that anymore. Pat Darcy is going to enter the game as we go to the bottom of the 10th, so he enters Studio 42 to join us. And just by way of background, you're a 25-year-old rookie in 1975. You go 11-5, ERA of 3.38. Most of that, though, as a starting pitcher. You started 22 games.
Right. I became the fourth starter when Don Gullah got hurt.
Tell us about Sparky and your relationship with him.
We had a pretty good relationship. You know, he didn't like pitchers being that cocky, and I got in trouble a few times with him on the mound playing against the Cubs, and I thought I was throwing the ball pretty good, and I guess I wasn't. So he came out to the mound. You weren't supposed to talk to him when he came out unless he asked you a question. So before he raised his hand to the bullpen, I said, "No, Sparky, I feel good." He just looked at me and said, "You'll feel better in the shower." You know, I was just walking back to the dugout thinking, that was a great comeback. You know, I wasn't even mad anymore. I was thinking, what a great comeback he had there.
Okay, to the bottom of the 10th we go.
And off the glove, Darcy.
And he was running way inside the baseline, too. First time I saw that play was last year when it was on the Major League Baseball net, right? I hadn't seen that before.
Now,
Why didn't
Pat,
you hit him?
You had thought about someday making a great defensive play in the World Series. Is that true?
After I made that play, when I was a kid growing up, I was watching the World Series game in a crucial situation. A pitcher made a really good play, and I was sitting at home and I'm thinking, could I make that play in that situation? So I'm walking back to the mound. All of a sudden, I thought about that. It came to my mind. I thought, you can. I just did it. And so I went back to the mound. We threw the ball around the infield, and I get ready to face the next hitter, and Morgan comes running in. And he says, he just runs in real fast, says, "You just made a great play in the World Series," ran back to the position.
Now Burleson follows by popping out, and here's Carbo, who tied it in the 8th. He could win it in the bottom of the 10th. What are you telling Darcy out there?
He's still going to throw the sinker. I mean, Bernie liked to extend his arm, ball out over the plate. But, I mean, we were in a situation where Pat had to be the guy. He had to be the man in that situation. Already he's come back against Evans, and now he's got Burleson. I mean, there's the fastball again, and he's late and swinging through it. So, I mean, it's just a matter of one pitch at one time, and Pat did a heck of a job.
All right, here we go now. Top of the 11th, and Pete Rose is up.
Rick Sonny Wise.
It hit him. It hit him. And Fisk is going to argue.
They're going to argue. They did that a lot in Boston. These guys argue.
You know, umpires, you know, and Fisk, they didn't get along.
Fisk, I know it. Fisk love is really, Carlton loved to be confrontational. He's always doing it. Oh, it hit him.
And he was right on top of the play.
Although we couldn't see it on the replay.
you know, it looked like a
Johnny, if it hit him, how come he doesn't run immediately to first base?
Well, he just wants to confirm it.
Okay.
Like he did.
All right, so here's Griffey.
Outside. Good fastball.
Is he butting on his own here, or is he getting a sign?
No, he's getting a sign.
High. Ball 2.
I mean, he's so good. I mean, he did so many things, wouldn't he? I mean, if he needed a bunt, and he could drop one down. He got the extra base hit. He took the extra bases, stole bases.
Bunted in front of the plate. Fisk is going to go to second. The throw is in time. Fine throw by Carlton Fisk. Head first sliding into second. A lot of people have talked.
See, now they would have been out there arguing right here. Let's see how quick this is. This really is a good play. In front of the plate was wet, and of course we'd had a lot of rain. But here's the situation. They might have got him. Now, if you'd have done that in Cincinnati, we'd have been already playing for the World Series.
All right, so that puts Griffey at first base and Morgan at the plate. And we're about to see a play that's not only fantastic, but actually kind of improbable, which we'll explain in just a bit.
Strike is called on the outside corner. A good fastball by Drago.
You heard that pop up here.
Say he throws hard. He throws hard. And he challenges you. Well hit, right field, deep. Evans is going back near the wall, and oh, what a catch he made! What a catch by Dwight Evans, and it's a double play. Griffey didn't know
Greatest ever. I mean, he'll never get credit for it. Dewey always said that, and you could probably confirm that balls hit that way always went to the corner.
Right.
And that's where he started off and then had to adjust. And I swear the ball caught him.
Well, Carl and I used to call that Death Valley. You have to hit bombs to get him out there, especially at nighttime. And Dewey was a very agile big man. Everybody knows about his arm, but he could seriously catch the ball. I mean, this is just a fantastic play.
Yeah, from our dugout, it looked like a home run because it's a sunken dugout, and I thought it was gone. You know, it probably would hit the wall, but still, we would have scored a run.
And you had been thinking all that time you were going to be the winning pitcher.
That's right. I was thinking that.
Two quick things about that play before we hear from Dwight Evans himself. Burleson goes over and covers very alertly from shortstop. He covers because the throw wasn't nearly as good as the catch. Yaz had to go into foul ground to grab it. But what was Griffey thinking? He just took off. He was almost at third base.
The ball was over his head. The ball was, hit so hard. And he just committed. There was one thing he was going to do. He was going to score on an extra base
Not
hit.
a mistake.
No, I don't think so. I really don't. The only person I don't know if there was a person in the ballpark thought that ball would be caught.
I had a great view of it because I'm going to back him up. I knew it was going to make it out. It was not going to be a home run, but I didn't know if he had time because it wasn't a high floating ball. It was more of a line drive, and it got over his head. But Dewey's 6'4",
yeah.
You know, and he's got a big wingspan, and he had that one last step, and he snagged it. And I could see that. I didn't know if he was going to catch it or not, but I knew it was going to be a home run.
Well, let's let him explain it. We spoke with him just this past week.
What was really strange about that whole play for me is a guy like Morgan, when he hits the ball and he pulls the ball, it's going to draw towards the line. So my natural instincts are to turn to my left and go towards the line a little bit because the ball is going to carry to my left. And you see this, I am moving to my left. Now I've got to go back. And as I go back, I kind of jump up and I jump back because the ball is actually staying straight. It never hooked towards the line. I lost it. Now I've got to rear back. I've got to rear back and catch the ball. The ball was getting behind me. You can see it. I kind of go back. And even though it looks like my head's on it, the bill of my cap is stopping me from seeing the ball. Anybody at home, if they've ever played catch, throw a ball behind your head and catch it like that. And that's what happened to me. I lost the ball from up here, from right here to here. And it landed in my glove, and no one was more surprised than me.
In the bottom of the 11th, Pat Darcy sets down the Sox in order once again. And so we move to the top of the 12th. Rick Wise, normally a starter for the Red Sox, makes his first relief appearance of the year and faces Johnny Bench.
Popped up to the right side. Fisk going after it, and Pudge makes the catch.
The wing kind of pushed that one back toward the playing field. Pudge was at the screen and had to come back.
Tony Perez has a single and 5 trips to the plate.
Tom, we've said it repeatedly. The things you forget. The Reds are about to threaten in the top of the inning.
Bouncing ball, and that's into center field, a base hit. So Tony Perez has his second hit of the game.
Well, I think, Fred, you said it well in terms of the job the Red Sox bullpen did in this game. I think it's overlooked. And looking back on this game, and you see not always clean innings, but certainly making pitches when they needed to be made.
Yeah, our pen, and now, you know, you got Rick Wise in there, who's a starter by trade. I don't know how loose he was getting in there. You know, he doesn't do this. So I was concerned because this is not his forte.
Little bloop hit, so that puts 2 men on. Both managers have played this correctly, though. They've got Darcy, who had been a starter, and Wise, who had been nothing but a starter. So if this game goes 18 innings, they can stick with these guys.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, as a player, John probably thinks along that way. I wouldn't be. You know, I'm just seeing a starter coming in a relieving role and going, geez, can he do this?
Just got to give some arms more time to warm up, and that was the original thought we started with this game, with starting with Gary Nolan.
Here's Evans and Wright.
He makes the catch. The runners went halfway, and they go back to their respective bases, 2 down.
Geronimo's the hitter, had a homer earlier. He 2 on, 2 out.
I was on duck circle. He comes over and says, I'm going to win this for you right now.
We do have activity in the Reds.
Didn't happen for the next night.
I think that's the moment. I mean, that's the thing that you live with, is what you believe what you can do.
Well, it is an interesting at bat because if he happens to get on somehow, a walk, an infield hit, maybe he goes. I'm sure he would go to a pinch hitter, and maybe Kirby has to come into the game. Pat, you were going to hit.
They told me
he's broke.
You're the man. You're the guy. I thought he was a good hitter. That's the thing to say.
Well, I mean, here he is out in the bullpen with him for 7 days. He didn't even know his arms broke. I don't know where you were. Welcome to the bullpen. You fit right in.
I wasn't used to the bullpen. They're crazy guys down there.
Oh, yeah.
In there, Cole, strike 3, right down the pipe, and Wise strikes out Geronimo. There were 2 hits. The Reds lead 2. We go to the bottom of the 12th of a 6-6 game.
So, Pat, what must you be thinking? I know Geronimo promised you he'd win the game. He didn't. Right. But you were almost in a situation, bases loaded.
He was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was fun. I've been great. Coming up
but he makes the
win
out,
your own
now
game.
You've got to go back out there.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, now I got to get 6 more outs.
Yeah.
So essentially, you're the last pitcher because Don Gullett is the Game 7 starter. And under no circumstances, though the Sox don't know it, under no circumstances is Clay Kirby going to be in this game.
I didn't know it either. So I didn't realize that.
No, I had talked to Sparky about it, and he said he can't use him.
All right. We have reached the moment of truth. Coming up, will it stay fair? We know the answer, but we pose the question anyway.
Bottom of the 12th inning. We had a 10-inning game in the 3rd series contest, and now we have a 12-inning contest. And it'll be Fisk, Lynn, and Petrocelli against Pat Darcy, who has been very impressive in 2 innings. He has set down 6 Red Sox hitters.
Okay. Fisk is coming up.
3rd inning pitching, I was pumped up, still pumped up, ready to go, and I'm trying to throw. I don't want to. The thing is, don't walk him. Do not walk anybody. And that was my mentality right there. Just get the ball over the plate, challenge him.
Before we get to Darcy versus Fisk, here's what Carlton was thinking as he walked to the plate.
I'm on the on-deck circle with Fred Lynn, and I said, Freddie, I don't know, but I feel something good here. I'm going to hit one off the wall, drive me in. And he said, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, sounds good to me, but he forgot the part about me hitting him in. But yeah, we did discuss that, and Pudge is a low ball hitter. And we've been watching Darcy throw sinkers. So, maybe he just was watching and he said, this is my kind of guy.
Here we go.
6 runs, 14 hits, no errors for Cincinnati. 6 runs, 9 hits, 1 error for Boston. And Fisk will lead it off, has a single and has walked twice. Has been on base 3 times. Actually was safe on a force play. Been retired once tonight on a bouncing ball to short in the 7th. Here's Fisk. And the wind blowing out. We've had 3 homers tonight, all to right field or center field. Carbo's was to dead center. The other 2 to right. There's a ball. Stays fair. Home run. We will have a 7th game in this 1975 World Series. Carlton Fisk becomes the first player in the series to hit one over the wall into the net.
All right, Freddie, you had a good view on deck.
I was sneaking ever closer to the plate because I wanted to see the movement of Pat's ball. And when he hit it, you'll see me come into the frame right about here. There's a nice vertical. I knew it had home run distance. I didn't know if it was going to stay fair, but it got out so quickly, it just hooked right around the pole.
Neither did Carlton know if it was going to stay fair. What did you think, Johnny?
I didn't see it drifting a whole lot. The pitch was out over the plate, and he never got the top hand released. What's really interesting is when I read about this, and this particular shot where they got the home plate shot was because of the camera in left field and the rat, because the guy couldn't switch and follow the
We'll get to that in a second. Pat, your thoughts? You just got to pray it goes foul, right?
Yeah, it was real high. It's kind of hung up in the air because the wind was blowing it to, the fair territory, and I thought it's going to go foul. And then it clipped the foul pole. I never realized that Foster caught the ball. And he ended up, he sold the ball about 20 years later. And at the time I said, how did you convince somebody that that was a ball? Then I realized from watching this right now that he hit the foul pole and he caught it. So he did have it. That was the real ball. They ever bought it. They got the real one.
Bounce back on the field.
Yeah.
What Johnny was referring to, Lou Gerard was the cameraman in left. Harry Coyle, the director, and the whole production team at NBC, very innovative. And they stationed him out there partly to get shots back toward the batter, but also he could get shots of plays in the middle of the diamond. That was the general idea. The style book at NBC said, stick with the flight of the ball if it's hit, and then we can come back. Well, there was a rat. I mean, if you've ever been inside the Green Monster, they cleaned it up a little bit in recent years, but there's all kinds of trash there. There's an old cigarette butt the Tris speaker left. I don't know. It's just a god-awful place. And there's a rat running up and down between left center and left field. And Lou Gerard is looking at the rat out of the corner of his eye, and maybe he feels like if he wheels around to the middle of the diamond, it'll alert the rat and the rat will react. So he just stays, right? And what he gets, he could never have anticipated. He's on Fisk for the swing, and he just stays, and he gets gold. And Fisk is going like this. Now, if it happened today, as soon as he rounds the bases, you automatically go to that shot. They didn't even know they had it. And Chet Simmons, who was an NBC director, executive, is in the back of the truck. And he looks up at one of the secondary monitors. He says, look at that. Look at that. And they realized what they had. And they went to it, and there it was. And not only was it a great shot in that moment, but it changed the way sports events were directed thereafter.
No doubt. I mean, we're so used to it now where the camera doesn't always follow the ball, but gets the reaction of the antagonist and the protagonist. And in this case, it happened by accident. But it was groundbreaking at the time as one of the most iconic images in all of sports.
What does it feel like walking off as the losers before we get to the winners in this game?
I don't know. I went in our clubhouse, it was really interesting because of the leadership of the guys, like John on the team. Everybody was just talking about what a great game it was. Here they'd lost 70-72, and they were on the road, and Boston's got all the momentum there, and here we are in the clubhouse, and what a great game. And people, hey, you did a good job, but just. Rose saying, and John ever saying, this is the best game we've ever seen.
There were so many, as we've talked about for all this period of time, there were so many wonderful segments of the game. We should have won it, they should have won it, we should have won it, they should have won it, we should have won it, and we should have won it. And now we lost. And we had Game 7. That was the thing. It wasn't the end of the world. Losses sometimes are, killers and everything else, and they may have been in the middle of a season, would have taken all the air out of you, and you would have blamed a lot of people. All this was the fact that we had to regroup and go ahead out. Let's just go home, get our rest, and we'll be back tomorrow, and we'll win this thing.
It was euphoric, obviously, in the clubhouse, but now all that allows us to do is play Game 7. So we have to regroup as well. They're regrouping, we're moving our emotion aside, at least I was, and said, okay, let's go to Game 7. Yeah, we have some momentum on our side, but we've seen during the course of this series, momentum doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win. And so we felt good about it. I felt personally good about it. I'd never lost a championship game at any level that I'd ever played in. So I felt really good about our position, and I like Bill Lee. Billy was tough on these guys. They don't like that kind of stuff. A chance.
Did you know, the immediate aftermath of a walk-off loss, that you were involved in something that wasn't just a great game, but that it was something historic?
No, I think it gets so great over all of the years because that's what is credited with helping save baseball because of labor problems and every disputes and stuff. But the fact that, everybody still was pulling for the Red Sox to win their first World Series. Everybody still wanted the Big Red Machine, which was considered at that time so great, but yet unable to prove it. We lost 2 World Series. We lose again. We're the Buffalo Bills. It's just something that goes with it.
Here's Fisk on the field with Tony Kubek right after the homer.
It probably had to be one of the best played, not only World Series game, but the best played game that has been seen in a long time. We were down 6-3, and of course Bernie Carbo picked us up. Had a great effort from everybody on our pitching staff. I just happened to get a ball. I didn't know what was going to be fair or foul. I knew if it was fair, it was out of here.
Well, Pat, you're forever connected with Carlton, obviously. Did you ever get a chance to talk to him about the moment?
We've met a few times now, different card shows, things like that. So we've talked a little bit about it. And,
And he recruits him to come out to Tucson and help him run for mayor.
Yeah, so you're considering a run for mayor of Tucson. I think if there's any transplanted New Englanders living in Arizona, they'll vote for you.
They'll vote for you.
Got my vote.
I mean, we'll move them over.
We did win, though.
We're not talking about that on this show.
The Red Sox won that World Series 3 games to 4.
That's right.
Pat, thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
We'll come back to wrap things up with Johnny and Fred. Game number 1 after this.
We will have a 7th game in this 1975 World Series.
I told Sparky after the game, man, Sparky's, he's down there, he's all worried. I said, but Sparky, don't worry about it, man. I said, did you see how they reacted to that home run? We got him right where we want him. Don't worry about it. He said, you guys are the big red machine. You never won nothing. I said, just relax. Take it easy. Just go get in a good night's sleep, come back tomorrow. And we went and got a good night's sleep, come back tomorrow and won the World Series.
And Game 7 was memorable in its own right, although it'll never match up with Game 6. Bill Lee versus Don Gullett, pair of left-handers. Red Sox up 3-0. Tony Perez hits a 2-run homer off a Lee changeup to draw the Reds close. A Rose hit ties it. A Morgan hit in the 9th wins it. They prevail 4-3. They win the World Series. But when it comes to this game, the number 1 game, how often do you hear about it still?
I hear about it quite often now. And to be honest with you, I didn't know the ramifications of that game and that series till later in my career. Again, I was a rookie. These are all new experiences for me. And I was taking it for granted that we would be back again. Turned out this was my first and only World Series. And so now I really look back on it fondly. I think we did some really good things, both teams. We put baseball back on the map and in the forefront with the NBC productions and all the things that happened there. It was just a great experience, and I'm glad I was a part of it.
And for you, Johnny, we have to remind people, you did win the World Series. But this particular game, how often does it come back into your thoughts or other people bring up to you?
Well, 1,000,000 times. I mean, everywhere I go, I speak a lot, and people ask me about the 6th game and everything else. But more than that, the fact that the 7th game took us to where we were, I mean, I love it because everybody seems to be a Red Sox fan. So I love to say, and we beat the Red Sox in '75, and they start mumbling and everything else. But that was the greatest moment. I've been the MVP twice and a Rookie of the Year. But when I walked into the clubhouse after the 7th game, there's nothing else I've ever experienced that really meant what the whole game meant. And I'm sorry Fred never had or Ron Santo or Ernie Banks or anybody that didn't win a world championship. Because when you went in there, 25 players were the world champion. The coaches, the trainers, the equipment men, the sponsors. There's really nothing like it. And that's what the worst part of that whole 6th game was the fear that we wouldn't win the 7th game. Yeah, you're confident you will, but here you will let a game get away already, and we've lost 2. And I mean, I heard about those 2 World Series we lost as well. So now I'm going to hear about this game. But if we don't win it, really, it's really going to be devastating.
And the next year, you just blow through everybody. You sweep the Yankees in the World Series. And now that Big Red Machine team of the 70s is regarded as one of the greatest teams in the history of baseball. But if you don't get the World Series back-to-back, your historical standing might be unfair or illogical, but your historical standing isn't the same.
It really wouldn't have. And the 6th game, absolutely. But, we were the Big Red Machine. We were supposed to win games like that. And it would mean nothing if we didn't win the 7th game, but to think that everybody, across this country, and as you said, it was supposed to be a day game at one point on the weekend. Now it's a night game. It's gone into 12:30, almost 1 o'clock in the morning, and still nobody's gone to bed. I mean, everybody in America saw that game, and all of a sudden baseball was great again.
Boy, this has been great. You guys for game number 1, but we've been lucky enough to sit opposite a whole long list of players and managers who took part in the 20 greatest games of the last 50 years. And you and I follow baseball pretty closely, but we learned a lot.
What a ride. A lot of fun, but very informative as well.
Yeah, it really has been. Thank you, Tom. You've been great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Johnny. That's game number 1 on the countdown. I think we'd all agree. Truly.
We're number 1. We're number 1. That's all you ever wanted to do in a World Series was drive down Main Street saying, we're number 1. You had your cigars, you were smoking, and you had all the stuff and everything else. Thanks, Major League Baseball.